For whatever reason, as boaters, we don't always use our best judgment. We'll look at the weather forecast and we'll see a small craft advisory, and for whatever reason, we'll go out anyway. We usually immediately regret that decision and wish we would have stayed in, kind of like some of the people we'll see in this video this week that wish they would have stayed in as well. Welcome back, guys. It's your boy Broncos Guru, and it's this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first incident to make the boating news this week is going to show us what it's like when you get that early morning wake-up call. That's right, you decide you're going to get up early and catch the 8 a.m. ferry. This is the Manly Ferry over in Sydney Harbour in Australia. It goes between Manly Beach and Circular Quay. When I first saw these images, I was actually kind of shocked that the ferry even left the dock, but after doing a little more research, apparently this isn't that uncommon. This ferry goes out there and battles some extremely rough seas all the time to get its passengers back and forth from the little beach town back over to Sydney. This must be one of the wildest jobs to have, is knowing that every day that you go out on the water, that these are the type of conditions you could be driving this vessel out into. And if you're ever visiting Sydney, Australia, this might be something to look into because it looks like it might be one heck of a ride. Our next incident to make the boating news this week is going to take us down to the Paria Gulf, where the floating oil vessel, the Nabarima, has been sitting anchored for several months. And just in the past few days, the environmental group Fishermen and Friends of the Sea caught these images of the vessel listing extremely heavy. This is raising some possible environmental concerns, as this vessel is carrying 1.3 million barrels of oil. Currently, the company that owns this vessel claims the vessel is actually in no danger, and they did send another tanker out today to try and remove some of the oil from this vessel, but as you can see in these images, it's listing pretty hard. There's definitely something not right about this, and judging by the way they have all these bow anchors out, I'm assuming they're using this to try and help assist in leveling this vessel. Many of the local environmental groups are calling for local governments to raise a national state of emergency about this. To give you an example, this vessel's carrying over 7 times the oil the Exxon Valdez released. Our next incident to make the boating news this week is going to show you why you do not drink and boat. Here we're going to see a man driving a large boat that crashed into docks and several other boats at Bayfront Park Marina in Sarasota, Florida this past Saturday afternoon, and it was all caught on camera. Sarasota police arrested a 32-year-old skipper on 4 counts of boating while under the influence with property damage. The extent and cost of the total damage to the other vessels, and including his, is not quite known yet, but I have to imagine this is not going to be a cheap day out on the water for this gentleman here. Once you calculate in legal fees and all the damage he caused, this is just a good reminder to everybody to always boat responsibly. There's no reason to get out there and drink and put other people's lives in danger, including yours. Our next incident to make the boating news is going to take us over to Fort Lauderdale, where on the New River around 2 p.m. there were 21 people hanging out on this vessel when all of a sudden it caught on fire. With that amount of people on the boat, it actually added to the chaos as search and rescue teams were searching for everybody and people immediately were actually missing. It was tough for them to calculate and find all 21 people who were on the boat. As on top of the search and rescue teams pulling people out of the water, there were also Good Samaritan vessels pulling people out of the water. Everybody was eventually accounted for. There were several injuries in this one, unfortunately, guys. This event still is under investigation. They're trying to find the cause of the fire, but one of the other things they're really trying to figure out is why there were so many people on this boat. When you overpack a boat like this, it can add to the dangers as well. While I'm sure that had nothing to do with the cause of the fire, I'm sure it did hinder in the search and rescue, and it probably also hindered some of these people trying to get off the vessel. Our next incident to make the boating news this week is going to take us up to another water rescue by the Coast Guard in Alaska, but this is not your typical water rescue. This vessel was out doing its normal patrol when it ran across a deer out in the middle of the bay that was struggling to still swim. The Coast Guard jumped into action, helped get this deer on board, and actually took it back to the local marina and put it back on ground. Once they got back to the marina, you could tell this animal was absolutely exhausted. I'm not exactly sure how long it had been out there swimming, but it could barely walk once they got it back onto dry ground. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram and let me know, and you might see your stories over here, just like PMC LW55, Mike Lum, Orlando Perez, and Kayla McLaughlin did this week. And if you haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on that subscribe button. If not, we're coming to steal your drain plug.